Hello again. Welcome back to another eSchoolDocs training video. My name is Cody. I'm the lead developer here at the eSchoolDocs team. In this video, what we want to share is a new feature in eSchoolDocs version 6 called evaluation logs. And this is meant to address a couple problems that eSchoolDocs had with the previous way that we recommended people log evaluations in eSchoolDocs. Previously, let me go ahead and demonstrate this. Previously, again, we're back in eSchoolDocs. Previously, in order to log an evaluation, you had to start a treatment session and then write a treatment log. So I'll go ahead and try to demonstrate that here. So let's say that we had evaluations on August 12th. Let's say it was from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And again, right off the bat, we're kind of at a loss here, because in order to log an IEP 504 or STEPS treatment log, which is these are the only ways to, previously in eSchoolDocs, to log any type of therapy event, a student either has to have an IEP in place or a 504 plan in place or STEPS available. And that becomes a problem, because for an evaluation, we may be trying to discern whether or not that student actually needs an IEP in the first place. Maybe an initial evaluation, we're trying to figure out, is an IEP necessary? Is a 504 plan necessary? Do we need to do STEPS? So even beyond that, though, the only students that were available in this picker were students that are in my caseload, specifically ISP students that are in my caseload. But what if, again, we're doing an initial evaluation where the student doesn't have an IEP yet? That's obviously a problem. So there's two main concerns that we're trying to address with this new evaluation logs feature that was really didn't work very well in the old version of eSchoolDocs, where a student had to have an active IEP and the student had to be in your caseload in order to log an evaluation. There were lots of workarounds that we recommended people do. All that, you can forget all that stuff now in this release. We've got evaluation logs now. So again, the same way we can start a therapy log like we just saw here, I can start an evaluation log in the same way. And notice I'm seeing that as an option here, seeing it as an option here. I can type eval in the search bar. I've got this start evaluation log as an option to me. I can go to the calendar and I can start an evaluation log in just one of these empty slots. So let's say that back here on the 12th, 7:45 to 8, I want to do an evaluation log. And let's say that, so again, before I go much further, this notion of you start a particular type of log, we just saw it with the start therapy log pop up. You're probably familiar with it with the start TCM log or schedule therapy pop-ups. Often there's a pattern in eSchoolDocs where you start a log through a pop-up. So as the user, I'm Awesome Testy. The service type, I'm a speech therapist, so I'm going to select speech language therapy, data service, and again, all this populated because of the calendar time slot that I started in. But let's say actually I want to say this ended at 8:45, so it's about an hour long. And then this is different from the way that treatment logs worked previously, because now we're in evaluation log world. So the students that are available by default are kids that are in my caseload. But if I need to, say I'm writing a treatment log for a student that's not currently in my caseload. Let's say that I'm writing one for a student that's in the same county that I work in, but maybe in a different school. So we can go ahead and type test, and then it'll actually go back to the database and load every student that has the last name or the first name of test that I have access to, that is enrolled in the county that I service, or one of the counties that I service. And so this is, again, different. Before, it was only students that were in my caseload that I could write a treatment log for, but for an evaluation log, I can write an evaluation log for any student that I have access to. But also, let's say that, again, we're doing an initial evaluation, and maybe that student isn't in eSchoolDocs yet, because eSchoolDocs is mostly tailored for IEPs, 504s, STEPS providers, or personal care aides or transportation aides who are providing services to students that probably already have an active IEP. But if this is an initial evaluation, we're trying to discern if the student needs an IEP in the first place. The student may not have an eSchoolDocs account yet, so they're not going to be available in the drop down. They're not going to be available when I search, because the account doesn't exist. But we've thought about this in advance, and so there's an option also to click here to register a new student. So when I click on this, it's going to show the a pop-up that you should already be familiar with. This is the Register New Student pop-up. So this is the same pop-up that you'd see if you type student into the search bar, and you'd see that option. Most of you have probably used, if you used eSchoolDocs before, you probably had to use this pop-up before. But now we can just register a new student. So let's say that the student's name is Bobby Barker. And let's say that the Weavis number is 12343, just putting in some test data. And it's convenient for us that this Weavis number is not in use, because that indicates to us again that this student does not have an active eSchoolDocs account. Let's say that I was using a Weavis number that I know to be in use already. It's not going to let us create this student because eSchoolDocs really doesn't want us to have duplicate versions of the same student. So what this is going to indicate to us is this student already has an eSchoolDocs account. Maybe the student transferred, was in a previous county and transferred to a new county, or to your county, or transfer. There could be any number of reasons why a student's Weavis number or a student that you tried to search for didn't show up in the pop-up. But now you can more easily, because you know the Weavis number is in use, you can track down that profile and write the evaluation for that kid much easier. But let's go back to 123, whatever number we used this a moment ago. And we'll go ahead and put the grade, say kindergarten. Pick a birth date that makes sense for kindergarten. Let's say the student doesn't have a Medicaid number, and we'll go ahead and enroll this student in Barber County at Barber County Elementary. We're not going to add this student to our caseload though, because this is an initial eval, and this student is not actually in my caseload. The student's not assigned to me. I'm just performing an evaluation for this student. So we'll go ahead and submit that. And when I click that, it's going to do two different things. It's going to first off register that student's account, but then it's going to also, after it registers that student, it's going to add that student as the selected student in the student dropdown. So it's registering the student, and then once it's been confirmed that the student's registered, it's going back to this eval log that we've already started to start, and then it's going to select that student as our option. So now that we've got that, we can go ahead and submit this thing, and then now once we submit it, it's on our calendar. And this is just like any other calendar event. We can click on it to edit it once the date rolls around, or if we're backlogging this, we can go ahead and put this in the system. Let's go ahead and select the appropriate diagnosis code, and then for procedure codes, note right now that at this moment we're seeing all the procedure codes that are available for speech-language therapy, even non-evaluation codes. So these two codes in particular, as a speech therapist, I would only use for like IEP therapy logging, like logging towards a particular IEP service. Whereas for evaluations, I would only use these evaluation codes. These two shouldn't be here, and we'll update this in the future so that those two options are gone. And when we do that, we'll update this video accordingly. But so for an evaluation, let's say I'm using this code, the 92521. This is not teletherapy, so I don't need to check that. And this is all that's required in order to log an evaluation. So from here, I can save this, and if this log was billable, let's say that this isn't an initial evaluation, this kid did already have an IEP in place, and this kid does have a Medicaid number, and all the forms are already in place, and all that, this log would now be billable, and I could submit this, just with this little bit of information. This is the bare minimum that we require in order to actually bill this evaluation. And then after it's been billed, I can choose as a therapist at my own discretion to add extra attachments. So these attachments represent any arbitrary sort of Word document or PDF or whatever my personal means of documenting evaluations. I can upload those attachments here at the evaluation, and those these attachments become available not just on this evaluation so that future therapists can like say this initial evaluation does determine that this student needs an IEP, and you're not the therapist who becomes this student's speech therapist. Once the IEP is started, somebody else. Well, that other therapist has access to this evaluation and can access your evaluation documentation, and then can use that information to better provide care and services to that student, to better provide the education environment and requirements that this student needs to thrive in school and beyond. So I can go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and upload an attachment. This is going to be my personal documentation. Let's say that outside of eSchoolDocs I have prepared, again, this could be any arbitrary File. Let's go ahead and documents, maybe. Again, this is just, so we'll just use this text file here. Let's go ahead and submit that. And when this is submitted, it's doing two different things. First off, it's adding an attachment. It's saving it in what it's called blob storage in the cloud somewhere. And it's going to save that so that I can then download this attachment later. So I can click this button to download the attachment, or I can delete it from here if I wanted to. But it's also saving this to the student's file library. So I can go to Bobby Barker's profile. And if I go to his file library, I'm going to see this. Let me go ahead and rename the name of this file. Evaluation report. I'll go ahead and put my name. I am Awesome Testy. Go ahead and submit that. And now I've got anybody can access this evaluation report that can access a student's profile. So any direct service provider that may need to know this information, maybe it's going to help them perform their job better, this information is now available to them from the file library or from the evaluation that was performed for this student. And let me go back to the correct week here. We did it last week. So yeah, we think this evaluation log functionality adds a lot of it fills a lot of gaps that were there in the previous eSchoolDocs version, where in order to log an evaluation, the student had to be in your caseload. The student had to have an active IEP, because the only way to log something was either through IEP treatment logs, 504 treatment logs, or STEPS treatment logs. But now we've got evaluation logs, and there lots of those problems, lots of those barriers have been removed. So you no longer have to add a student to your caseload in order to log an evaluation for that student. That student no longer has to have an active IEP in order for you to log an evaluation for that student. So this covers the initial evaluation problem that eSchoolDocs forced you to find lots of workarounds for in the past. So hopefully this video has been informative. Hopefully you can use this evaluation logs feature to your benefit this school year. We're really excited to see how you guys use it, and we're excited to hear your feedback on it. If you have any problems, feel free to reach out to us. And with that said, God bless you guys. Hope you have a blessed rest of your day, and thank you very much.